Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for another breakfast with Blaha. And today I'm having rice, egg whites, and Coke Zero. Breakfast of champions right there. All right, let's talk a little bit about training lighter. Something that comes up, people will say things like, Jason, what's up with the percentages you use? Why do you run off all your volume work? The percentages you do, it's too light. And they don't understand what's happening here. So I need to break this down because here's the thing. I put up elite numbers. I put up big numbers while training that way. And what people need to understand is when you get stronger and stronger and stronger, those same percentages for your rep work are not as important to get higher percentages. It's much easier on recovery. And again, there's stimulation factors going on to where when you're more of a noob, you deadlift 400, you squat 300, you're a noob. It's a totally different ballgame than when you squat 500 and deadlift 600. It's completely different in terms of your ability to handle workloads for your reps. All right, that's the first thing to think about. And it's not just me who says this. Wendler says this in detail many, many times. Says it in his book, says it in discussion. You see, I've seen Dan John, arguably one of the best strength coaches out there. He discusses that in detail. He's like, you can't handle the same percentages when you squat 500 as someone who squats 350 or 300 can and recover from it. You just can't. And you don't have to. You don't have to. When you start looking at data out there for experienced lifters, start comparing some of the EMG studies. And I've seen Greg Knuckles do breakdowns of this stuff, of looking at the research and pointing out the problem with things like effective rep theory is that it tends to go away as you get more advanced. People with higher strength levels, higher neuromuscular efficiency, are able to hit upper threshold fibers on big exercises immediately. In other words, you can start doing it at 50% of your max within a couple of reps, right? The second, third, fourth rep, if you start looking at EMGs, they're tinging 100%. Things that when you start talking effective rep theory, this only happens 4 reps from failure. No, it can happen 12 reps from failure for advanced lifters who have a strength base. Therefore, we're hitting and recruiting all the available muscle fibers with lighter weights. Therefore, when we're going lighter and doing more reps, we're actually just repeating it more often. We get more out of it. There's more work. That's why when you see guys like Wendler saying it's harder on you to do this percentage for 10s than it is for 5s for advanced lifters, that's what he's talking about, because you are actually doing more effective reps. On that sort of theory, you wouldn't be. You wouldn't be doing so. But it has to do with how advanced you are. And the evidence supports this. And we know that with experienced lifters with several years of training, that when we look at a lot of the EMGs, again, their 10 rep sets, they're measuring sometimes off the second rep, the third rep, and they're getting high amounts of muscle activation on big movements, on multiple muscles. Occasionally, this gets looked at closer that certain exercises, they don't get hit as hard till you get more reps deep, some of the muscles, but it depends on the exercise and the muscle. But overall, it does. So there's that to factor in. All right, number 2, I don't do these as primary training modalities. My clients don't. Anyone running any of the training systems I promote don't do that. What do I promote? You see me promote conjugate, 5-3-1 type training. In none of those systems are you coming in and doing 10s first. You don't. That's not fresh. So what you could do fresh and all out's irrelevant, because we're hitting heavier lifts first. Well, what does that do? That attenuates upper threshold muscle fibers. Okay, if we're doing that already, we're already fatiguing the highest threshold fibers. If you're hitting a training max, or you're doing an AMRAP at 85% or whatever, you're doing a bunch of speed work, what happened? We have heavily fatigued the upper threshold muscle fibers and all the fibers already. They've already been hit hard. It's easier to create more fatigue in them now. It just doesn't take as much. So if you start trying to run limits that you're like, oh, let me try to do a bunch of 10 to 70%. Number one, it's not even necessary to get the effective reps to do that. Number two, you're beating your recovery up. Hey, that's the other thing that's been noticed. You'll find all these good coaches say the same thing. Do not miss reps in training. Do not miss reps in training. That also means going to failure on your rep work. Okay, and if you're at the point to where, hey, I'm supposed to do some 10s and then you can only do 7 on one of the sets because you went too heavy, guess what? You did less work, got less effective reps in, because again, coming back to that buy from failure doesn't apply the same in these scenarios. As number one, we get more advanced. Number two, we've pre-fatigued first because we've lifted heavier. We're getting more effective reps with the lighter weight because we can do more. Okay. So you're losing stimulus, you're destroying your recovery. Injury rates go up, overtraining rates go up, inflammation goes up. This isn't a good thing. And this is the point we make with all this. We shouldn't be on the bleeding edge of failure on our work sets when we are not novices anymore. We could argue novices don't even have to do it, not even necessary to maximize gains. We can't afford to do it as we get stronger. It's just too detrimental to your recovery with no benefit. Half the time it ends up giving you less total training stimulus. And again, it just beats you up. So we come back to that point I've said we need to be a little lazier. Be lazy in your training. Now granted, it's not really lazy. It just looks lazy based on the percentages and sometimes the tonnage, but the tonnage tends to not be lazy either. The point is, it's not coming in and going hard, not going 100% on sets. It's understanding that it is the accumulation of work that we have to recover from that makes us bigger and stronger. And when you understand that, you can approach that programming differently. It's not about being hardcore, it's about being consistent month after month, year after year after year after year without getting hurt and being able to recover. And that's the entire point. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.